Let's talk sunscreen sticks. I'll share when I use them, what they're good for, what they're not good for, and some of my personal favorites. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Sarah Shu, a Stanford trained dermatologist in the Seattle area. Let's go. First, the positives. They are super easy to carry around since they're compact, no threat of messy spills or explosions in my bag, and they're easy to apply. There are a lot of good options out there, especially some great Korean beauty options that look good and give you great protection against ultraviolet radiation. They make sunscreen reapplication throughout the day super easy, and when I attack my family with sunscreen, they're usually a little bit less squirmy when I use a sunscreen stick. Another nice thing about sunsticks is that they have a more waxy consistency, so they tend to stay put a little bit better than creams or gels. So people who get sweaty and their eyes sting when sweaty sunscreen drips into their eyes, they might enjoy something with a little bit more sticking power like these sticks. A mineral sunscreen stick would work really well for my sensitive eyed friends out there. So I use them all the time and I love them, but they do have a giant flaw. They are not a good primary method of sun protection. It is extremely easy to underapply sunscreen when you're wearing a stick, especially with the matte ones, since you don't really see any residue depositing onto your skin. At least with the shinier ones, you can see and feel a little more of the sunscreen being deposited onto your skin since you get a little bit of that sheen. It's especially hard to get enough coverage using a sunstick when you're trying to protect large surface areas like your back, since you can end up missing entire areas of skin. This picture on the funny subreddit showed this point really nicely. As a dermatologist with no sense of humor, I don't think this picture is funny. My skin just hurts when I look at this photo. Sun cushions or compacts are similar. There's not that much sunscreen in there. Take this VT Sun Pact, for example. When I rub the cushion onto the product, barely any of it makes it onto the sponge, and not all of that will end up on my skin. I would be here all day if I was trying to get enough coverage to get the SPF 50 protection that it's supposed to give me. It's similar with sunsticks. You'd have to swipe over and over and over again to get enough protection. And if you were a mad lad and did that, you would run out of this $20 sunstick in just a few days. For people who are watching their budgets, it's also not the cheapest way to protect yourself from the sun. For the same amount of money, I can get a nice cream or gel type sunscreen like Sinix that will provide way more uses per unit. You are paying for the convenience and portability of a stick. Finally, I've owned about 10 sunsticks at this point, and at least two of these have done this on me, one of them even the very first time I used it, this Isntree one. I'm about to get into my top picks. If you like the video so far, I'd appreciate if you can like or subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Even with these downsides, they are still handy to have around for reapplication. For the US viewers, I'll start with two options that are easy to find in the US because they have UV filters that have been approved by the US FDA. The most recent approval was in 1999 when people were still collecting Beanie Babies. The only US market option that I enjoyed was the Shiseido Clear Sunscreen Stick. It is more expensive than the other ones that I'll cover at $32 for 20 grams. I don't think that it's necessarily better than the Asian market sunscreens that I'll cover. It's just the easiest one to buy that's decent that I found in the US. Sadly, I could not find a mineral filter sunstick that I love, but on occasion I will use the Neutrogena Ultra Sheer Mineral Face and Body Sunstick. I try to warm it up on my hand first to make it a little bit easier to apply on my face skin. It does have a little bit of a white cast, and I find it to be a little hard to actually get it onto my skin, but it is a nice pick for people with sensitive eyes and skin. Next are the Korean sunsticks that I enjoy using and I restock regularly. European and Asian market chemical sunscreens offer better UV protection than American market chemical sunscreens, especially superior UVA protection. I like these Korean beauty options because they offer a better look and feel and better protection for less money than the US market ones. There are a lot of good options that contain similar UV filters. The main difference that you'll notice between them is how matte or shiny the finish looks. I don't think that matte or shiny is better. It will just depend on your skin type and the season that you're in. I have combination skin and I prefer a more matte option in the summer and a more moisturizing option in the winter. For people with really dry skin or for people who want a really smooth application, I would check out the Round Lab Moisturizing Sunstick. There is pretty much no resistance or tugging when you're applying this stick. It's my favorite to use on my lips like an SPF lip balm since it applies so smoothly. Protecting our lips from the sun is really easy to forget, but it's super important. Squamous cell skin cancers that form on the lips have a higher potential to metastasize or spread to other areas of the body compared to the ones that form on other body parts. But this next point is super important. The original Sunstick with the more modern Asian and European filters is specifically the Birch Juice Moisturizing Sunstick, not the Birch Juice Moisturizing UV-Lock Sunstick. Just like with Beauty of Joseon and CanMake, Round Lab is not allowed to sell their original sunscreens, which have non-US FDA approved filters in the US. To avoid missing out on that sweet, sweet US market, they created sunscreens that only contain US FDA approved filters. For Round Lab, that is the UV Lock line. So the sunstick that I tried that I like is the original Birch Juice Moisturizing Sunstick, not the American UV Lock version. The packaging looks almost the same. Like, why keep the Korean words for Birch Juice Moisturizing Sunstick on the packaging for this product that's specifically made for the US market with its throwback UV filters? What Korean person is going to buy this inferior American version when they have access to the real version? I feel like the company is doing this to fool people into thinking that this is the original international market sunstick. Beauty of Joseon does this too. They call their US market sunscreen Daily Relief, which sounds a lot like their popular international market Relief Sun, even though they are very different sunscreens. Anyway, buy the US version if that's what you want, but don't get tricked. On the other end of the spectrum, we have some sunsticks that give you more of a mattifying effect. The Tocobo Sunstick and the Beauty of Joseon Sunsticks have a more matte finish for people who want a more dry touch or have oily skin. They are going to require a little more effort to apply to your skin, and it's a little harder to see how much is actually depositing onto your skin. Tocobo has a very strong fragrance. It has a blue color that, with enough swipes, gives you a little bit of a blue hue, which is kind of an interesting choice. It has more of a powdery or velvety finish than the Beauty of Joseon. The Beauty of Joseon has a thicker and more waxy consistency. It has the best mattifying effect of the sunscreens that I've tried. For people who are prone to redness, the green tint can neutralize the redness a little bit. For people who just can't commit to one end of the matte to glowy spectrum, there's a couple that are in between options, the Skin 1004 and Isntree. I know there's a lot of diehard fans and haters of pretty much all of these sunsticks. Some people say the Beauty of Joseon sunstick is great, and some people think it's pure trash. But ultimately, compared to the US market sunsticks that I've tried, they are all an upgrade, and which one you like is going to depend on how dry or glowy you want your finish to be. I've mentioned in a previous video that most of my family members have dry skin, so they really like the Round Lab Sunstick. And I have combo skin and I prefer a less shiny finish, so I like the Skin 1004 for my personal use. That's what I typically apply toward the end of the day before driving home from work when it's sunny out. Let's learn from each other. Do you have any sunsticks that you'd recommend? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And if you can tell me what you like specifically, that would be really helpful for my learning. Thank you for watching.